And my name is Olamide Onasami, CEO and founder of FineNigerianProperties.com. And I'm happy that we are having another edition of our monthly webinars where we get to educate people, whether you are a buyer or a renter of property or you are a realtor that want to learn how to better position yourself, right? We have something for you month in, month out. But this month, we are going to be having conversations around how, as a buyer or a renter, you can do it right. And when I mean do it right, I mean how you can avoid being scammed, how you can go about verification processes of a property you either want to buy or you want to rent. It's going to be a rich conversation tonight, and I hope we are excited. I want some excitement in the chat corner. I want us to show some excitement. We are going to have tonight, our guests who are seasoned professionals in their various fields talk to us about their experiences and how you can, avoid some things that are out there. So, how to avoid being scammed, how to avoid paying for a property that is not real, a property that could be demolished tomorrow, right? So we're going to be having a lot of insights, enlightening conversation tonight. So relax and get your questions ready while we go straight into tonight's webinar. And I want us to, for participants, I want us to go right to the chat box, and I need to start seeing your experiences. Just summarize maybe one or two experience of, when you try to probably buy a property or rent a property, your experience, how it was. Was it a good one? Was it a bad one? Was it an excellent one? What was it like? Whether from the property owner or from the agent, as the case may be. I want us to go to the chat box, and just document your experience. I want us to have a rich time together this evening. Our guests are already on the call. I'll be introducing them shortly, but before we go into that, I want to see our experiences being typed. You just need to summarize it. Renting a house in Lagos was good for me. Renting a house in Lagos wasn't so good. I was stressed. It took me 6 months. They increased the rent even after I made intentions known. I almost paid for a property that I eventually realized that the owner, the person who claimed to be the owner, isn't the owner. So whatever it is that your experience must have been, I want us to put it in the chat box while we go straight into tonight's webinar. So put it in the chat box. So tonight, basically, we are going to be having conversations around, someone said it was a bad one though, paid close to 10 agents, took me a year to secure a better place. Wow. So I understand that. I was also shocked, yes, I'm in the real estate space, but you also want to probably rent a house for yourself or your family. I was also shocked when I started hearing the thing about agents. There's something they call it. Is it inspection fee? Yeah. And you could pay inspection fee to like 10 or 20 agents before you eventually now decide to stay with one particular house, right? So I understand. Sorry about that, Marvelous. Sorry about that. So let it keep coming. Let it keep coming. So I have a question for us tonight before I go into introducing the speakers. If you have ever almost paid for a property that didn't feel right, I want you to indicate in the comment, I mean in the chat session, if you have ever almost paid for a property that didn't feel right, just indicate. I mean, I know a close friend who did not almost pay but paid actually. She actually paid for a property that didn't feel right, but because she just felt like it happens everywhere in the world. So this the backstory was, she wanted a house, and she saw this very fantastic house, and she called me into it and said, oh, let's go check their office and all. And to our surprise, the very first time we went to that office, someone came to really drag them and were really shouting, I've paid for this unit for over 2 years. They are sending me pictures of property that doesn't exist anywhere. I mean, the person came all the way from the UK to make a scene in their office. And in my mind, I was telling my friend that I don't think this is a good idea. Are you sure you want to go ahead to buy property from them? I know she said it happens everywhere in the world because she's not based here. She's been out of the country for years, like almost 2 decades now. And she's like, it happens everywhere in the world. Maybe because of the fluctuation in the economy. Maybe they have reasons. Maybe they have that. No, okay. I mean, it's your money. It's your decision. I can only advise you. And I mean, it's sad because she paid for 2 units, right? And that was in 2021. And till now, as we speak, not the money nor the units have been delivered or money refunded. In fact, even if they have to refund the money in 2026, I mean, it doesn't worth anything because at that time we're talking about 190 million, yeah, 190 million as at 2021 for 2 units then. So I mean, so for me, I have some experiences of people who made decisions based on trust, especially people in the diaspora making decisions based on trust in the system, believing that the system is going to work. And at the end of the day, their experience wasn't good, wasn't a good one. And one of our speakers is going to be speaking in that light, things that is a concern for Nigerians in the diaspora, things that are making them not willing to invest. You tell some people, oh, you need to come and invest in Nigeria, and you hear things like, no, I'm not trying it. I don't want to go through that route. So we have a seasoned lawyer who has over 15 years experience in property law, who would also be, showing us how to do it right. And also on the call tonight, we also have a seasoned business growth strategist and consultant who will be sharing with us his own experiences regarding real estate. So if you have any experience that wasn't palatable, you can please share with us in the chat box. So straight to introducing our guest speaker. Tonight with me, I'll be introducing Dr. Timothy Oke. Dr. Timothy Oke is the CEO of Yannis.ng, one of Nigeria's fastest growing health and wellness e-commerce platform. He's also the CEO of Liberty City Palm Estates and Liberty City Homes. Definitely pro-Nigeria, despite many challenges. He prides himself in being an external optimist of this great nation. Dr. Timothy is tonight going to be speaking, to the concerns of Nigerians in the diaspora because he is also in the diaspora. Dr. Timothy, can you say hi? Is Dr. Timothy on the call? He was on the call. Can
Yes,
you
I
say
am. Good
hi?
evening. Yes, I
Good
am. Good evening.
evening. Good
Happy to be here, ma.
evening.
Thank you very much for
Thank
hosting me.
you. Thank you very much, Dr. Timothy. Also tonight with me, I have Mr. Abib Ajibola is a growth and product leader, founder, and venture builder with over 13 years of experience helping startups and businesses scale through strategy, product execution, and data-driven growth. Over the past decade, he has led product and growth for companies across Africa, Europe, and the United States. He is presently the founder and CEO of Growthverse, a technology venture and service studio building and supporting the next generation of Africa's unicorn. Mr. Abib, can you say hi to the audience this evening? Say hi to everyone. It's good to have you, sir.
Good evening. It's good to be here with you, man. It's nice to be here. Hi, good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Abib. And also tonight, I am so happy to be to have this person on the call tonight because of his wealth of experience when it comes to property in Nigeria, when it comes to real estate in Nigeria. So tonight with us, we have Mr. Adeni Aderogba. He is the founder and managing partner of Adeni Aderogba and Co., a law firm operating out of Lagos. He specializes in litigation, arbitration, property matters. I need to emphasize that. Property matters and estate planning. He has extensive expertise and significant experience in real estate matters, advising individuals and corporate bodies on conveyancing, leases, mortgages, and other forms of transactions relating to real estate. He has assisted several clients to process certificates of occupancy and governor's consent in many states in Nigeria. I just want to leave it as that. If I say I should read the bio of Mr. Adeni, who will not live here. I mean, he has a long-term experience in this practice. Good evening, sir. It's good to have you on the call. Please kindly say hello to our guest, our participant tonight. I beg your pardon.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure joining this
Thank
session.
you very much, sir. Thank you, sir. So we are going to dive straight into the conversation. And I mean, I just painted a scenario that a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine that, bought a property because she felt this real estate company is everywhere. They are known, they are big. And though the first day we went there, I can say God gave us a sign. But because they are big, they are out there, she still went ahead and gave them a benefit of doubt. However, at the end of the day, my own fear became a reality. So I want us to, I'm going to be putting this to, starting from Mr. Denisa. So when it comes to making real estate decision in Nigeria, from your wealth of experience, what are the things you believe that anybody who wants to either, buy or rent, the things that they need to put in place, the things that they need to watch out for? We have people from diaspora on this call tonight who have been skeptical about investing in property in Nigeria. There are instances of demolition and also. What are the things that, we need to put forward before we go ahead and make any financial commitment? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Let me start by appreciating your organization for organizing this, monthly seminar, monthly webinar where, information is being disseminated to people, particularly in relation to property matters, because I mean, as a litigator, presently I have more than 15 matters that relate to land disputes. And you see people buying land, and then the seller would have sold the land to another person, and then you have a situation where maybe 2 or 3 buyers are fighting over a parcel of land. So I need to specifically appreciate you for this type of sensitization. Now, having said that, from my experience, I think the first problem that people have is that people don't do enough due diligence, before they go into real estate transaction. So, for instance, that the other time you were asking about people's experience, I mean, I have someone who is very close to me who sometime last year was scammed to the tune of 18 million. They wanted to rent an apartment in Lekki Phase 1, and then unfortunately, they were, mounting pressure on him that he should come and pay, and the rest is history. They actually took him to the apartment, showed him everything. He didn't know that they even conspired with the gate man there, and so he paid, and unfortunately, we are still the matter is still at the police station, trying to recover the money. So, but the most important thing is, one, if you are making a decision, on, purchasing a property, or, leasing a property or renting a space, the first thing you need to do is due diligence. Do your due diligence very well. Get a lawyer who understands property transactions to do it. So number one, go to the land registry, do a search, confirm whether the title to the property is actually genuine. Because I've seen a situation, in fact, there is a case now at hand where it turned out that someone cloned a document, gave it to, yes, I have someone who wants to purchase land somewhere in Lekki, and then it turned out that it was a fake document that was given to the person. And so, because I insisted that I must do my search for over a month now at the land registry, both for official search and unofficial search, we could not find anything. There is no record of the property in the land registry. So if that client did not get the services of a lawyer, he would have gone ahead and made payments, and then the rest would have been history. So the point I'm making is, in making a decision to acquire a property, or to even lease out, rent a property or take a long lease, first and foremost, do a search at the land registry. Secondly, conduct a litigation search in court to know, because it's one thing for the title to be genuine and then the land is not encumbered, but then there may be litigation on the land. So it could be a situation where there are two families fighting over the land, and that's why you see that at the end of the day, so there were some people to come and buy the land again. So you don't want that to happen to you. So you need to conduct litigation search. You may decide to use the name of the seller to carry out a search. I've done that a number of times, and we would see, at the registry that, the person has a litigation going on. And then when you now probe into that, you then see that the land that you want to acquire is actually the one that is subject to litigation. So due diligence is essential, but more importantly, I need to stress this: when you want to either rent a property or you want to buy a property outrightly, and then agents are putting you under pressure, you need to be very, very careful, because this is one of the areas where people fall prey, to scams. Because when they tell you that, someone wants to pay now, you need to, quickly cough out the money. You have to. It's better to lose that property and then get an alternative than for you to lose your money. Because once they start telling you that you have to pay today, when you know that you have not concluded your due diligence, it's problematic, because at the end of the day, you might either be buying litigation or, throwing your money to fraudulent people. So it's essential that you do your due diligence very well. And if the land is owned by a corporate body, in addition to search at the land registry and court registry, try and also do a CAC search. Know whether the company is even validly incorporated at the CAC. Know who the directors are, because you don't want to do a transaction where, at the end of the day, EFCC will be calling you tomorrow. I mean, about a month ago, I had to accompany a client to EFCC in Lagos in respect of a real estate transaction that my client did last year. I think around February, March last year. He purchased a property from someone. It turned out that, the person that he acquired from is being investigated by the EFCC, and so you don't want to deal with someone who maybe, for instance, is a known fraudulent person in court. So that's why it's also good, if the property is in the name of a corporate body, do a CAC search on the company, know the individuals behind the company, and then a Google search, ordinary Google search too, could also come handy, so that you know whether the person you are dealing with is even someone who, maybe people have been making negative remarks about him or her on the social media, or so that you'll be properly guided. So when you are buying a property or you are renting a property, before you commit your funds, try and do a proper due diligence. Thank you.
Wow, this is a master class. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So there are possibilities of even buying from a corporate entity that they are fraudulent. Wow. Wow. And I mean, that particular point that you touched about, one of the red flags is when agents are really putting unnecessary pressure around you to buy. I remember one time I wanted to rent a particular facility and I'd not even checked. The agent only told me that there's this particular facility available, that fits what I wanted. And it was like, I've not even gone to check. And the first thing he told me was, you need to fill the form. A lot of people are on it. I said, why will I fill a form to show interest, in a property that I have not seen? It doesn't make any sense. That was when he now calmed down. And as we speak, that property has not yet been occupied. The property that a lot of people are. So, what you said is spot on. One of the red flags is when agents are putting you under unnecessary pressure. Thank you very much, sir. So I'm going to move straight to Dr. Timothy. Dr. Timothy, I need you to speak to some of the challenges and some of the how will I put it now? Like hindrances, right? To people in the diaspora, Nigerians in the diaspora, hindrances, things that the factors that are stopping them from investing in Nigeria. I have quite a number of friends. Once you mention anything property in Nigeria, they are so scared. So I want you to speak to it. What exactly is the problem? What are the things that people have experienced that is making them, draw back? They would rather, pay for mortgage in the US than come over here to do anything real estate. What exactly is the issue? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Ma. And I'll say again, thank you for the opportunity, for the invitation to be here today as a guest. I appreciate that. Thank you very much to all the other guests as well. It's good to be here. One of the biggest challenges that I see is that generally, as a society, we are a low trust society, generally. So, and if you talk to, especially people in the diaspora, if you talk to people a lot, almost everybody has a story of a situation where they've sent money to someone in Nigeria to do things for them. And whether they get that report through a third party or they ultimately go back home and then find out that, that thing has not been done. I remember a very funny story. where somebody was, over a period of time was doing a project, quote and unquote, and then he gets to Nigeria, and this person is abroad, does multiple jobs, right, to make money, to do stuff at home, and then gets to Nigeria and realizes that all the while, the family were just living off the person who he gave money to, were just literally living off the money that he's been sending. And so he gets home, sees the project, and there's no project. There's no project, but they have built houses for themselves. They live in a good estate, nice cars, and it's just that person's money, who is working in a code in very sometimes very difficult circumstance, right, to send money back home to you. So that trust deficit is a thing, and if you talk to a lot of people, it's become very obvious. People don't trust people at home, and rightly so, because there's been too many stories. The issue, however, is that because of the emotional connection between, of course, because again, we're communal people, right? So naturally, your friends and family are your default community. They're your default people to say, oh, I want to do something. Let me talk to my dad. Let me talk to my uncle. Let me talk to my auntie. Let me talk to my brother's friend, naturally. And so people keep falling into that trap again and again, because while there's trust deficit, we are also a communal people. So that relationship is quite interesting. So I think that's one of the challenges. Obviously, we have the security challenges that we've seen. That's a general thing. I don't want to go too deep into that. People are skeptical. Thankfully, now that the economic projection, the economic reality, and I need to be very careful the way I put this forward, because I don't want to sound insensitive. If you look at the macroeconomic picture of Nigeria, if you are looking above the noise, it looks good. It looks very good. And the way you know that is because you are beginning to see foreigners pump money into the Nigerian economy. However, if you are in Nigeria and your rent has doubled, your transport cost has tripled, the cost of food has, quadrupled, but your salary has only gone up 20%. That reality, so there's a gap in reality there. So for diasporans, the challenge they see is that before now is this currency devaluation problem, where if you put money in Nigeria, but I think generally speaking, which is why I referenced macroeconomy, because generally speaking, we've seen a lot of stability in that area, but it used to be a very big deal. In fact, it used to be a very, very big deal when people are like trying to sell, because like, no, if I put $1 into Nigeria, I don't know when I'll be able to get my dollar back and all of that, but largely that has stabilized. What I think is fundamentally the biggest challenge has continued to be access to a pool of, because even for professionals, you need to be careful which professional you trust, you entrust. So for example, for us now, the best professionals that we've had have always been on a referral basis. Someone has done something for somebody that we know, and that person then says, I put my credibility behind this person I'm referring to you, because even professionals can be interesting. Lawyers can be funny, surveyors can be funny. Artisans can be funny. Laborers like everybody can be funny. Everybody can be funny. There's like 100+ stories of that. So, for example, if you're abroad, it's easy to say, oh, directory of surveyors in a location, directory of lawyers, because generally speaking, if you're on the directory, you have been vetted. There's probably an annual vetting, or some sort of objective public vetting where you can just go through and pick and choose professionals and all that. But in Nigeria, unfortunately, that usually is not the case. I've heard of cases of lawyers who are not actually lawyers, parading as lawyers, doing transactions for people. We wanted to buy land in around the free trade zone in Lekki, in Ibejuleki, about 2 or 3 years back, and our team went, and the people that we went to meet, they came, like if you do business in Nigeria or in Lagos or Abuja, you understand posturing. You understand posturing. They came in these Land Cruisers with police escorts, and all of that, showing us around. Long story short, turns out that they were completely fake. The lawyer was not a lawyer. Young woman, looks extremely brilliant, beautiful English. The whole thing was a charade. Like, it was fake. Complete. Thankfully, again, just like Barrister was saying, if you do which I was taking notes when he was talking, because those are part of the things that I actually had written down. Again, in Nigeria, because of that trust deficit, you have to be naturally distrusting of everything and let verification be your default. Meaning, everything that anybody tells you, including your own lawyer, figure out how to try and verify that sort of information, because that is how you stay on the side of safety, right? So yeah, so I mean, if they can show up like that, you would naturally think, oh, if somebody showed up like this, they would be legit. No, they were not. Thought that they were fake. I mean, not if you saw like a couple of Land Cruisers, police escort, somebody in the whole regalia thing, like come to our office, this and that, show the documents, show you this and that, you would let your guards down and think you are dealing with serious people. Indeed, we were dealing with very serious fraudsters, So that is part of the challenges that we'll see in Nigeria. Yes, please. Thank you, ma.
Thank
I'm
you.
happy to
Thank you
follow up if
so.
you need me to.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. I mean, I hear you, sir, because a lot of people are skeptical, they are scared, and who will blame them, right? You cannot work, in the cold, your hard-earned money, you bring it here, and some people are just enjoying. One of my friends would say the kind of enjoyment is not even having outside the country, people are having with his money. So I totally understand what you were saying, and we hope that one of the things that these webinars is going to achieve, not just this particular one, even the subsequent one, is to sensitize people, both in Nigeria and outside, Nigerians locally and outside, on how to do it right and how to get it right. Thank you so much, sir. So I move straight to Mr. Ajibola. Mr. Ajibola is here, though we know that he's also everywhere. So I would like to ask you, sir, from your experience, I'm sure you must have related with not just real estate companies, with realty companies, agents, and even your personal experience. So, Mr. Ajibola, I want you to speak to, what you believe Nigerians should look out for to help them do it right when it comes to investing in real estate, whether buying or renting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think it's really nice to be here once again. And also, thank you so much to Mr. Adeni and Dr. Timothy. I had to go and get a pen and a paper at some point, particularly when Mr. Adeni was speaking. There was a lot of wisdom in there. And there's a lot of wisdom because I think I have learned a lot of things through experience because I haven't had the chance to be on a lot of calls like this. So I've had because I do businesses and I work with a lot of business. So I've been involved in trying to get a lot of properties in a number of different cities. And the fun thing about these things are, in as much as we know that Nigeria is a problematic country, it's not something that is unique to Nigeria. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. You go to other African countries, you try to get properties, you see people not being straightforward with you, and the likes. But one thing that I would say is the most important when you're trying to get a property is, I think Dr. Timothy mentioned it, is to be able to generate verifiable trust. So there's a difference between trust and verifiable trust. Trust is, oh, he's my brother, he cannot do anything he cannot spend my money. That is trust. Trust. Sometimes we trust blindly. But verifiable trust is, are there some mechanisms, some bodies, some things in place that makes it easier for me to trust this person? I'll give an example of some experience that I've had. sometimes last year, we wanted to start a food business in Lagos. And I would say that we paid for 3 different places before we eventually got the location that we eventually used. Those 3 places we paid for, only one person refunded our money in full. The other 2 parties, we are still chasing them for 50% of the money. We were not able to get it back. The other one, I think almost 30% of the money. And even the one that was remaining 30%, when you pay for something and you take your money, and then they start doing, we'll send 1 million to you tomorrow. Next tomorrow, I'll send 200,000 next week and in 2 weeks' time. That makes it even like what you needed to use the funds for now became even useless. And the one key thing a lot of people don't know about this, particularly if you're getting a property for a business, is because of all of these issues, it took us about 7 extra months before the business could start. We're planning to, we'll start this business around November of 2024. The business eventually launched August of 2025. And that's the thing, like all of the growth the business is supposed, it's not only the money we lost from these realtors that was the loss we made. All the profits the company could have made in that 8 months that has gone. The opportunities we could have keyed into that probably could have made the business into something even bigger, we've lost all of those opportunities. And one key thing, like I said, is that you need to look out for is verifiable trust. This verifiable trust is, which is also because I'm a big advocate for Fine Nigeria Properties, which is why I feel like it plays a really important role in the Nigeria real estate ecosystem. Because before now, it's particularly if you don't know like someone that could, there's really no way to verify the viability of a realtor or a property or Mr. Adeni has said a lot of things that you need to do. I mean, most people don't know they need to do this. That's the thing. Most people just go on a listing platform, they see a property, they're like, oh, this property is really nice, and then they go ahead and pay. Most people don't know, oh, you have to verify this document, you have to verify this. So, and even for the people that knows, now is, do you know how to do it? Do you know how to verify property documents? Do you know which organization or which agency is responsible for it? Do you know who you need to speak to there? Do you know how to verify if the lawyer you are speaking with is a proper lawyer, even if they came with their Land Cruiser and SUVs? Do you know how to verify? That's the second layer of the problem. And I feel like that has been one of the biggest problems that we've had in the Nigerian real estate space. But I think it's looking at the different ways. So there's the hard way and there's the easy way. The hard way is you just have to verify. If it's a property, go and verify the Land Use Act. Be sure that, okay, this property is what they've said it is. If you know, if it's a lawyer, there is you can verify with the Nigerian Bar Association and see if this person is actually a lawyer and they have not even disbarred the lawyer. Even if it is a lawyer, be sure they have not disbarred. They have not taking his license away to practice even. So all of these things has to be in place. And I would say, I'm not sure if there's any other, but I think the only platform that I know that makes this a lot easier at the moment is FNP. Because I believe that the way Fight Nigerian Properties function is they have pre-verified all of the realtors on this platform. So I feel like, which is, again, it makes it easier. If you know that, I don't want to mention any platform so that I don't receive letter that they've sued me by tomorrow. But you go on a platform and anybody can just go on any platform and post properties. You don't know who is who. There are sometimes that there was a time that someone that I know, we grew up together in Lagos in Surulere, wanted to sell his father's house because he has moved to the US. None of his siblings were in Nigeria. They have no plans of returning. So, and the building was a very old. They wanted to sell the property. And then he told one agent, and he said that the following week, he saw like 20 different people have listed his property on a particular platform that I would not mention their name. And he said he doesn't even know any of these people. He does not know where they came from. So, which means that anybody can just take a picture, see a picture somewhere, and pose as if that, which is the instance in the case that that Mr. Adeni mentioned, and post that, oh, we are the owner of this property, plan with the gatesman, give the gatesman 5,000, and you come, you'd expect you pay, and then you realize that you've been scammed. So I would say that the most important thing is ensure that all of the details you have are verifiable. And like I said, there are two ways to do this. Every single thing they tell you, you don't have to argue with them, but ensure that, okay, they said this property, this is the case of this property, this is what it is, this is what it is. Find a way to verify all of those things. So you can either look for a way to do that yourself, you can hire a professional to do it. A lot Nigerians, we are very smart people. We always look for ways to save small change, which is why we would save 10,000 naira to lose 10 million naira. So it's always a good thing to also pay professionals that understand this thing to help you verify. And if you feel like, oh, all this is also still a lot of stress, look for a platform that actually helps you with the verification, like Find Nigerian Properties. I think just verify. They will tell you a lot of things. They will tell you sweet things, but ensure that you have verification for all of these things, and you most likely would be fine. Thank you very much.
You're muted, ma.
I'm sorry, apologies. Thank you so much, Mr. Abib. Thank you for that rich insight, verification, and verification. Before we go to Mr. Adeni again, if you have any experience you want to share with us, kindly put it in the chat box so that we can hear from you, learn from you, and also tell you how best to do it next time if you don't have a way forward yet. Okay, so I can see somebody raising his hand. All right, go ahead, Sam. Go ahead.
Hello, good evening, everyone. So it's been very insightful listening to people that are talking about buying of properties, how to do due diligence. But my own experience is actually about renting properties, renting an apartment. So I recently tried to rent an apartment around in Lagos State here, River Valley Estate at Ojodu, and it's a two-bedroom, very nice two-bedroom apartment, and the rent was actually 4.5 million. It's actually befitting, right? But the commission and the charges and then the caution fee. So if the rent is 4.5 million, how come the total package is now summing up to around like 8.5 million, 9 million? Because so and now I after my own small due diligence, I got to know that the agent that actually has direct access to the property is like the sixth agent from me. So the person I know knows another agent, the agent knows another agent, and the other. So it's like a chain of different agents like that. So and at the end of the day, I didn't eventually pay. But how can we caution this? This is actually a very, and I think this is very rampant in Lagos State because that's where I stay. This is very rampant, and you will see the agency fee like almost times two, or making your total package like times two of the rent itself. And what if you're unable to, it's not about paying all of the total package at once. You might have a reason to change apartment, change your. So how do we now have to always pay like times two of the rent itself in like maybe 1 or 2 years time? Like, I don't think so. Is there any solution to that? How can we go about that?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sam. Thank you. I mean, a lot of people have gone through this, even though the law states that for renting it's 10% and for buying it's 5%. Mr. Dini can correct me if I'm wrong. I think there's even a particular bill in Lagos State. I'm not sure it has passed that they even want to reduce the renting to 5%. However, you still see people asking for 20%. And that thing you described is what they call long chain. When you're like, they have like 6 or 8 realtors on a particular property. But I think I will allow Mr. Adeni speak to, when it comes to the law and the right things to do. But I think one of the ways to help you, when it comes to this, if you really want that property, is to ask to meet the landlord. You want to see the landlord, and then, in that process, you can relate with the landlord, share with the landlord how you feel about this thing, how that they are asking for this, and that's most likely one of the reasons why the property has not been rented, because the agents are asking for 20% or 30%. Some even ask as much as 30%, which is ridiculous, right? But I will allow Mr. Denny, help us. Mr. Denny, sir. So aside from this scenario that Sam just, painted, right? Dr. Timothy made mention of, engaging lawyers, and some lawyers are not even real lawyers. So my question, sir, is how do you now identify, Mr. Demola said that the lawyer might be a lawyer that has been debarred. So is there a platform, is there any way, you can identify a lawyer that is a real lawyer? And also, if you could speak to the scenario that Sam painted. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to first appreciate my co-speakers. Both of them, Dr. Timothy. Sorry, is it okay or okay? So, and then
okay.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, and Mr. Abiba Jijola, I thank both of you. You've really done justice to the topic. Now, I will start with what Mr. Ajijola said. He mentioned the fact that, we Nigerians, I would say we Nigerians, in a bid to save some money, we end up looking for, professionals who are very, very cheap. And, there's this popular saying, on, in the social media space in Nigeria, that if someone says, I have someone who can do it cheaper, it may be that what you will get. So from experience, I've seen a situation where I've given someone a fee quote before for a real estate transaction. And the person said, no, the lawyer can't pay this and that. I have a lawyer who will draft a deed of assignment for. So I said, okay, go on. And then the person then went and meets a lawyer. And in drafting the agreement, the lawyer then puts Mr. and Mrs. So when eventually there was an issue with the transaction that needed to be taken to court. And when I was briefed, I first looked at the title document. I said, this can be challenged in court because there's no person known as Mr. and Mrs. in law. So if you have Mr. Ade and maybe Mrs. Tolu, for instance, you can't have maybe Mr. and Mrs. Tolu Lokwe or Mr. and Mrs. Ade. It is not correct in law because there's no person in law known as Mr. and Mrs. So you have Mr. Ade something. Mr. So the full name, and Mrs. So looking for cheap professionals is one of the issues. Secondly, regarding how to ascertain who is a true professional, I agree with Dr. Oke that yes, a lot of people are parading themselves as lawyers. In fact, if you read the Punch, I think the Punch newspapers that came out 2 days ago, a story was reported of a man that was caught at EFCC Okotiebo. He actually came to submit a petition on behalf of a client. And then in the course of being interviewed by EFCC officials, so they first noticed from the NBA seal that he attached to the petition that the seal looked, funny. So, for me, if someone, that's why I even like lawyers who use electronic seal. I have electronics. So if, for instance, now, if you look at the electronic seal, you can, there's a barcode there. If you scan the barcode, it's going to bring every information about the lawyer and the document and all that. In fact, I like lawyers who use electronic seal more than the paper seal, because it's easy to just go and forge the paper seal. But then for the paper seal too, there is an enrollment number there. Every lawyer must know his enrollment number because it's unique. Two lawyers cannot have the same number. So, and then again, there are, you could also, for someone who says in this age and time, I don't think there's any serious lawyer, for instance, who would not be maybe on LinkedIn or on any other, or will not have a website or something. So I believe that there are ways of verifying, the identity of not even a lawyer, any professional that you are engaged in. So that is very, very crucial. Now, coming to, I think it was Sam that asked the question. Yes, I know that problem really, really exists in Lagos State. But you see, I feel that the Lagos State government is not doing enough, because beyond even saying, oh, you want to enact a new law that will curtail some of these things, there is also an existing law that was actually passed that was passed in 2021. It's called Lagos State Real Sector Regulatory Authority Law. LASRERA law. There is an agency in Lagos they call LASRERA. That agency is saddled with the responsibility of regulating, the the real estate sector. However, even most times, because I speak on webinars, I speak on, at seminars, and most times when I mention that law, and then people will say, oh, they are hearing this for the first time. Meanwhile, this is a law that has been in existence in Lagos State since 2021. You see, it's unfortunate that the government is not sensitizing people in this respect, because I've also met a number of agents that I asked them, are you even registered with LASRERA? And some of them are even asking me, what is LASRERA? So, and meanwhile, the law says before you can practice in Lagos State as an agent, as a real estate agent, you must be registered with LASRERA. But an agent who is carrying out the transaction does not even know what LASRERA is. So the problem really is on the part of the government. The government needs to be sensitizing, the people. Everything should not be about election. Part of housing is, is a key issue, that has to be, taken seriously by the government at all levels. So if you look at that LASRERA law, for instance, there is a provision there that says, they shouldn't charge beyond 10%. It's there. But the major problem, I always tell people that it's not as if we don't have laws in Nigeria, but implementation of those laws, is a major issue that we have. So, yes, there are laws, but those laws are not being obeyed. Now, the other point is, okay, if you look at the current tenancy law of Lagos State, for instance, it says from a sitting tenant, if a sitting tenant is not supposed to pay more than 6 months rent in advance. That's what the law says. And then from a new tenant, a year. But then you see, landlords that will say, no, before I give you this out, you must pay 2 years upfront. Meanwhile, that does not sit with the law. But unfortunately, nobody is enforcing all these laws. So we actually have all these things in our laws, but enforcement is another thing. And again, it's also boils down to the failure of government, because the government has also not provided any alternative. So people are left at the mercy of those landlords. So that's the challenge. Now, when I was speaking the other time, there was some point I forgot to mention. So I forgot to mention the fact that apart from doing your search at the land registry, court registry, and possibly CAC, you could also have a situation where you would need to visit the Surveyor General's office to chart the land. Because this is so, because you had asked a question about maybe government taking over the property subsequently and all that. So you can go to it's not that you will need to go to, or whoever is doing the search for you or due diligence for you, will need to go to the Surveyor General's office to chart the land. Now, what you need to chart is the coordinates. Once you have the coordinates, use it to chart the land to know whether the land falls under government acquisition. Now, there are two types of acquisition. There is committed acquisition, there is uncommitted acquisition. Committed acquisition is the one that the government has already earmarked that land for a particular purpose. So you have a situation where government has already designated a scheme or a particular place for maybe hospital or building of schools. And then one Omonile will now go and sell it to you. You have bought it. Your lawyer unfortunately did not do proper due diligence to know that government has designated that place maybe for establishment of schools. And then you now get to the stage of perfection. And that's another issue entirely, because some people will just buy properties, they will not perfect. So you need to do perfection. I understand that, yes, perfection, fees are very, very expensive in Lagos, but it's also everywhere. I mean, I'm aware of maybe Ogun State, for instance, it's more expensive than
It's
Lagos.
not.
In fact, survey fees in Ogun State is far, far more expensive than survey
Yeah.
fees in Lagos.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it happens. So, meanwhile, in law, once you register your title, it gives you what we call legal interest. If you don't register it, what you have is at best an equitable interest. And what it means is that a subsequent buyer who had no notice that you had bought the land, can purchase the land, go ahead to register it, and have priority over you, such that when the matter gets to court, the person will be, his title will be preferred to your own title, because the person has gone through, the entire process and has gotten governor's consent and has perfected the title. But more importantly, when it comes to committed acquisition, it means that you cannot buy the land. So you must chart the property. Now, for uncommitted acquisition, it means that, yes, government, maybe government has acquired the land in the past, or the land is vested in the government, and then government has not designated that land for any particular purpose. That one you can acquire, even if you acquire it from a private person. All you just need to do is regularization. But for committed acquisition, no amount of regularization can be done. Even if you go and meet people in Alausa and they collect money from you, in the future, the government can come up and then, demolish your property. So I just wanted to, but coming to Samuel's question, there is a legal framework already. There's an existing legal framework on it, but the law is not being followed. So I would recommend that you follow what Madam had advised, that seek an audience with the property owner. But I should also mention, from a practical point of view, that Lagos agents will try to shield, the landlord, so they will try to deny you access. But I believe that is the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I mean, that is a fantastic one. Committed acquisition and uncommitted acquisition. I hope we are taking notes. So while Mr. Dini was talking, someone raised his hand. Yes, you have something to say, sir. I can't pronounce your name. Go ahead, sir. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sixtus. So what you see there is just online name that I use. So my question is bearing on the fact of the issue with now title deeds, C of O's, perfection, all that has been said earlier. Coming from the angle of one who has inherited land now, landed property. How, because one of the issues we have is we don't have a particular document that says, oh, this land is owned by your father or by your parents. And then one needs to, with the rising modern times that we have, this is actually something in the East. If the experts have any read into that area of Nigeria, how is it still the same process of going to registry? Someone mentioned the Surveyor General to actually have a good title deed or probably a seal of oath to effect this ownership or regularization before we start building and issues come up.
Okay, thank you, thank you. I want to get a question right so that Mr. Dini can help us, speak to it. You said you're asking about a land that's probably inherited maybe by your father or your mother, but it doesn't have any documents. Am I correct?
Yes, yes. I am inherited by myself actually that doesn't have any documents to say this is the ownership or this is yeah. So want to regularize and know how that yes.
And is this said land in Lagos?
No, it's in the east.
Is in the east? I don't. I mean, Mr. Dennis, you are the one that would help
So
us.
you did mention, I mean, based
Okay,
on
I
the
mean,
profile.
okay,
Yes.
62. Sorry, before I answer that question, just one or two questions. So when you said you inherited the land, did your dad, make a will? Was the property vested in you via your father's will?
No, sir. It's I am the only
Okay.
surviving son, so yes.
Okay. Now, the other question is, was letters of administration obtained from the probate registry upon the demise of your dad?
Not to my knowledge, sir. No.
Okay, so no, I mean, it's something that you have to do. So under the law, there are. I'm so sorry to digress. So in law, there are two types of succession to property. There is what we call testate succession. There is intestate succession. Testate succession is where someone died and left behind a valid will. Intestate succession, on the other hand, is where someone died, without a valid will. I use valid because someone can leave behind a will and the will will not be valid. So, in the case of testate succession, where there is a will, when the person dies, the people who would administer the estate, they are called executors. Those executors, when they are transferring the property to you, there is a document called assent. So they will need to execute a deed of assent in your favor. Now, in the case of intestate succession, because no will was made, you need to obtain, I mean, of course, letters of administration will be obtained. That letter of administration will now be the document, with which the property can be administered. And of course, that letters of administration can be used, in place of what's it called? In place of the title documents. So try and get letters of administration in respect of the property. And that property, in respect of your father's estate, and that property must be specifically listed. And so, I don't know if your mom is still alive, you and your mom, because under the law, minimum of two persons must apply, for letters of administration. So maybe you and your mom can be the administrators.
My
And
mom
then,
is later. My mom is
your
late.
mom is late. Well, depending on the
Uh,
law that operates in that area, maybe they could grant you some form of waiver to allow only you apply. But it's essential that you get that document so that you can then use that as a basis to administer the property. So if that is not done, then I believe that you continue to have issues. I don't know if that answers your question.
yes, barrister, that makes sense. Thank you. So just to buttress, with that letter of administration, the issues of
Yes.
title deed or CFO are covered.
No, so once you get the letters of administration, on the strength of that, assent there's a document called assent can then be prepared, but you cannot be prepare assent, unless letters of administration is obtained.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Stuart. And you could reach out to us later. We can give you the contact of Mr. Deni so that you engage him further on this if you need his professional advice and input. Thank you very much, sir. So I'm going to allow every one of the speakers to please give us, their close remark in 2 to 3 minutes, starting from Dr. Timothy, a close remark on what we should do right, as a people, right, as a nation when it comes to real estate, what you believe we should do right, what you believe the government can put in place to make Nigeria real estate space more attractive to both Nigerians situated locally and people situated in the diaspora. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much again. I want to say thank you to my co-guest, Barrister Adini. Thank you very much. Your session has been, again, like I was taking notes, even though we have lawyers, but I have to still take more notes, especially the answer you gave to the gentleman that asked his question the other time. I think that was very robust. This is a master class by itself. You would have to pay consultation fee to a lawyer to actually have them like genuinely answer this to detail. Thank you very much. And to Mr. Abib Ajibola, thank you very much. Yeah, to wrap it up, Mr. Abib said something about verification of trust. And I think that's powerful. And I want to say again, kudos to you, Mrs. Olamide, for what you do with financial properties, because in a way, what you are doing right now is that you are bridging the gap between on-ground reality and this trust. So this issue of trust, because fundamentally, any business transaction is down to, do I trust the party to which I'm dealing, right? If I do not trust them, and okay, there should always be a level of skepticism. And I'm saying this to everybody, just like we just said now, fake lawyers, fake surveyors, and all of that thing. So that even when anybody is recommended to you, you go do your due diligence and verify. You cannot be too cautious when it comes to especially real estate transactions. If we were not cautious, we will have gotten our hands burnt a number of times. You cannot be too cautious. You cannot be too cautious. And Mrs. Olamide mentioned the issue of the agent pressuring. In fact, it's always and I know everybody throws the word red flag, up and down these days. But every time you are pressured on any transaction, be it real estate or otherwise, it's an opportunity to take a pause, right? Things usually should flow naturally. If you feel pressured, you are an adult, take a pause, seek counsel. You should never be pressured into signing an agreement, signing a contract, engaging anybody, sending money to anybody. If you sense any sort of pressure, in fact, you expect it, because just like you said, every single land that we bought, there's always somebody that came yesterday who brought money and the seller does not want to sell. And I need to bring my own money today. Like, if I don't want to lose this property, I've not seen them do this in Nigeria, but in the diaspora, what they do is that they will schedule like 2 or 3 viewers. So let's say you want to rent an apartment or even want to do a property inspection. They will schedule like 2 or 3 of you together. So you meet yourselves there, right? That creates some sort of like artificial pressure. In Nigeria, the storyline is similar but different in that somebody came yesterday, and the reason why the person didn't pay is because the seller has not agreed on the price. So you have to agree on the price and pay now. Every time you are under pressure, always take a pause. Barrister Denny has said that again and again. I just want to reiterate it. You cannot be too cautious. Investigate everything. Please and please do not be cheap on professionals. And I know that sounds, again, cliche. I would probably argue this point maybe 5 years ago, as I have more experience and I've seen how dramatic things can be, especially in Nigeria, when you are not on ground. I'm telling you also now, as cliche as that sounds, that you should not be cheap on professionals. Find the best people you can afford and stick with them. They will save you a lot. I promise you, professionals will save you a lot. It's probably one of our strong suits right now. The fact that we do not chicken out when it comes to letting professionals do their job. Now, when they do their job, it doesn't also mean that you should not ask questions. Again, your default posture should always be ask questions, verification, cautiousness. Ask questions. You cannot be too cautious. especially when, I mean, you work for this money that you're handing over, whether it is in rent or it is in acquiring a property. You work for the money. You cannot be too cautious when it comes to, handing over your hard-earned resources. What can the government do? Uh, I would rather like to sidestep that because no matter what we say on this call, generally speaking, the government will do what they're going to do. What can you do to protect yourself is what I think we should focus on, because we can spend 24 hours today talking about what the government should do. We all know what the government should do: structures, clear laws, enforcement. It's interesting to hear that every agent in Lagos is supposed to be registered. I don't know how many of us have dealt with registered agents in Lagos when you're looking for rented apartment, right? What you would typically see is that there are like 15 or 17 or 28 agents for every apartment, and you're not really sure who you're talking to. In the same Lagos, they said they should not increase rents past certain levels. Your landlord cannot do this, cannot do that. How many evictions are we seeing in Lagos? I'm not saying that if you take these things up legally, that you cannot win. I'm saying how many people are willing to commit to that emotional trauma, or to the drama, to the psychological displeasure of having to do those things. So we can talk about what the government should do. I think for us, it is what should you do to protect yourself. Like I said, I believe in Nigeria. I believe Nigeria will work. We continue to invest in Nigeria. Some of my, friends and colleagues are like, what is it about this place? And it's like, look, if other people are coming to Nigeria to continue to invest in Nigeria, not just continue to double down on their investment in Nigeria, they all cannot be blind. They all cannot be pro-Nigerian government. It's not about the government. It's about the opportunities that the country has. So what Nigeria Property is doing is that they're literally helping us. And, I've not done business with them before, but I'm about to do business with them because I've seen that answer that they're providing is the answer of bridging the gap between what is on ground for you that you're not available. So that if they do all the work for you, they've taken away most of the problems that you are likely to encounter. Because these problems are not, like, you cannot be too smart. Again, it's about that thing about cautiousness. You cannot be too smart for the system. So if somebody is helping you take away the labor of the verification, how many of us can commit to going to Surveyor General's office and going to do title, going to do court cases, search, it is not realistic for most people, which is why we take the shortcut of using friends, families, referrals that may not have been verified, right? So if you use a service like what they are offering, I think it just takes care of that trust and then allows you to then ask your questions. Of course, now the difference now is when you're asking your question, now that you have been knowledgeable, Barrister Adeniyi has now made everybody superstars when it comes to real estate. So now when you're asking those questions, you know the answers to expect because somebody has done the verification work for you. But how many of us are willing to come to Lagos, for example, and start to do all of those searches around? How many of us are willing to start paying this lawyer, pay that person? You pay the land search people, you pay the surveyor, you pay the town planner, to get all of these things together. We mostly don't have that time. So if somebody is out there providing a service that allows that bridge to be taken care of, it makes everybody's life easy. So I would say that every time, and I think I'll wrap up at this point. If you can find the right professionals, I highly recommend it. It will save you headache. It will save you time. And those things may be more important than the actual money that it costs you. Good professionals with integrity will save you time. They will save you headache. They have saved me time. They've saved me headache. They've saved us from, in fact, one of the cliches that when we talk about our lawyers and all that is a good lawyer, his first job is to make sure you don't get to court in the first place. That's the job of a good lawyer. Make sure you don't even let this matter. What's the resolution? Let this matter not get to court in the first place. It's the job of a good lawyer. The lawyer that is only a new lawyer, especially in Nigeria, only a new lawyer will be pushing you to, let's go to court. Let's deal with them. Like, if you do court case on your own rights, you might spend years without an outcome. And the other party knows that they have nothing to lose. You are the one spending money on lawyers. They may not show up. They'll call witness 1, witness 2. They'll say this person, they have accident when they are coming. Tomorrow, they went for wedding. 5 years, 10 years, sometimes matters are still dragging out. So a good lawyer's job is to make sure that you don't even get up. Your matters don't even end up in court in the first place, so that the court becomes the last resort in any issue. So I think I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, Mrs.
Thank
Olamide, for this
you,
platform.
thank
You're doing
you,
amazing. Thank you very much.
thank you so much. Okay, over to you, Mr. Abib. In 2 to 3 minutes, tell us what you believe as Nigerians we should do to prevent ourselves from being scammed. And Dr. Timothy decided not to talk about what the government should do, but if you want to, you can, but you can also follow Dr. Timothy's path. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think I would just go from the perspective of what I believe the real estate space in Nigeria needs as of today. So I would say that there are three key things that the real estate space in Nigeria needs. So I would say the first, and the thing is, all three of them, they work hand in hand, like they support each other. One of them might achieve a little bit of results, but all three needs to be present for us to revamp and revitalize the industry. I would say the first is technological innovation. I always say this, that with all of the innovations that we've been seeing in Nigeria with tech, in fintech, there's fintech everywhere. Even edtech, even there is not as much as fintech, there is edtech. I've always wondered, why have we been seeing very little innovation when it comes to the real estate space in Nigeria? I think that's one of the most important things that we need, which is why platforms. I always say that before now, the height of technological innovation in real estate is the listing platform. Everybody will just tell you come and list. So, which is why, again, I appreciate what Find Nigerian Property is doing. So they are leveraging technology to solve some of the problems in the industry. It's not like I'm looking for a competition for you, Mrs. Olamide, but we need much more innovations that can push the industry forward. And then I would say the second is trust infrastructure. So there are a mix of ways with which this can be done. And I feel like that's the biggest issue. The reason why people do not do a lot of things with a lot of people in the real estate space in Nigeria is because they can't trust each other. There is a piece of land that we wanted to use for something just very recently, just January of this year. We wanted to expand the business. We need a larger space. And then someone came and said, "Oh, I know someone." And then we went and met the person. And then it was like, "Oh, this is their family's land. That is the one in charge of it. Like, is there any documentation to this?" And me, I'm a very easygoing person. I was just standing in the back and listening and shaking my head, like, there's no problem. And we're asking questions, and he was answering. But I don't trust. I've said before, I don't trust what I can't verify. It is your family's property. Is there any way I can verify it before some? So I think this, which is why trust infrastructure is really important, particularly for the people in diaspora. At least me, I'm here in Nigeria. I can go and use my eyes to, most of the time I'm in Nigeria actually. So I can go and use my eyes to see what it is. People in diaspora, they want a situation where they know that if this person tells me A, it is A. So how that trust infrastructure gets built is an entirely different conversation. It can be built through tech, which is also another angle that Find Nigerian Property has helped a lot of people solve. But I think the last and the most important is regulatory intervention. Mr. Adeni said some things around this. There are some certain things that only the government can resolve. And we will build all the tech, we will build all of the infrastructure, all of FNP would give us all of the verification tools. If there is no regulatory enforcement, some agents will still go behind the back and ask for 20% agency fee. So some landlords, you would rent the property and the next year they would increase it again. Lagos landlords, that's what they are doing now. Every year, it's a yearly thing now. Sometimes they will wait like 6 months after a year to tell you, Mr. Aviv, how far? We are increasing. So all of those things, there's a need for the government to intervene and enforce some of this regulation so that the industry is a lot more conducive for the people that are functioning in the space. So I think those three key things, if those three things can be affected, I think the industry is going to really, really grow. And like I said, two of this FNP already solves for us. So we are glad to have that. So, but I think the last one, government intervention. I think if those three key things happen and they work well enough, I feel like the real estate industry in Nigeria is going to explode. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abi. So finally tonight we are going to be taking Mr. Adeni's final words for participants tonight, and even those that will still, rewatch this webinar. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Again, I thank my co-speakers. They've really done justice to the topic, and I also thank Find Nigeria Properties for organizing this session. Now, all I just need to do is to re-emphasize, the issue of due diligence. The truth of the matter is, yes, you cannot be, should I say, you can't be diligent enough, but at least let it be seen that you have really done your best. And then when you prepare, those agreements, and then the other thing is when you are going into a transaction. So, for instance, if that property is a family property, because this is one of the areas where people, have issues. So, if you are buying land, for instance, that is a family property, the position of the law is that the family head must sign. So, the law says the consent of the family head and principal members must be obtained. So, what the law says is, if family land is sold or alienated without the consent of the family head, the transaction is null and void. On the other hand, if the family head signs, but principal members, did not sign, maybe like the secretary of the family, for instance, the law says the transaction is voidable. And the difference between void and voidable is that when something is void, it means that in the eyes of the law, it has never existed. But voidable is that it is valid until the court sets it aside. So if you are buying a family property, please ask for the details of, know who the family head is, ensure that the family head signs, and then maybe after the family head, maybe the secretary or any other principal members. But without the family head, you have not bought anything. So please let that. And then again, if you are someone that is physically on ground, before you pay money, apart from doing the necessary checks at the land registry, court registry, CAC, possible, pay a physical inspection. Go to the property. People that are living in the neighborhood, there's something I usually do. I will just send someone to go there. I will not be the one to go at times. So at least if they have seen me as a lawyer going there, I will send someone to go and ask questions. For instance, someone wanted to buy property around Ojodu Bega. I think it was last year, 2024. I had to look for someone who resides in that area, I think like 2-3 streets away. I paid the person on behalf of my client to go there, to go and ask questions from people who live in the neighborhood. Ask them, because those are the people that can give you the true information about the property. They will tell you, oh, this property is owned by so person. Oh, this property, they are fighting over it. Those are the people that will give you the accurate information. You that you are living in Ikeja, for instance, you want to buy property maybe in Ogba, or you want to buy property in Lekki Phase 1. You need someone who lives, in the neighborhood to give you information so that you don't fall into a wrong hand. And then again, I've said it, and the co-speakers too have reiterated it, that don't let anybody railroad you into making the decision now, that, oh, you must bring your money now. No, it doesn't work that way. Once someone is mounting, unnecessary pressure on you to come and pay, please know that it's better you lose that property than you lose your money. If you lose that property, who says you cannot get a better property elsewhere? And then if you are doing any, and then for someone who is looking for an apartment, also try and do a due diligence. And then, recently, I have a client who is a foreigner, but does business in Nigeria. And then he wanted to get, like an open space for his business. He wants to, all these makeup, makeshift arrangements, and then he had already agreed a particular amount. He had agreed. He just brought me in at the stage of drafting the document. And then I said, oh, no. I said, before we proceed to drafting the document, did you even confirm, whether this man is the owner of the land? I said, you know what, give me the man's number. Let me engage him. So I engaged the man. I said, please, sir, I want to do a search at the land registry. I said, don't even give me the title document. Just tell me the registration number. I will use the registration number to go and do my due diligence around. And, that was when I knew that something. And then the next thing, I was asking the man for like 48 hours. I wasn't getting information. I told my client, I said, this is the issue. And then the next thing, the man now told my client that, he will no longer even put the property for the same amount. He then increased it beyond what parties had agreed. So I just told my client, I said, this is a big red flag that, it's better he looks for another property, because for this man that you had already sat down with and reached an agreement, because the lawyer has now come in, the man is feeling uncomfortable. He's now telling you that, I'm increasing the price maybe from 5 million to 8 million or something. So I told him, I said, see, it's better you forget about it. And the man was going to take a long lease. So imagine paying for like 10 years. Imagine paying like maybe 50 million or 80 million, only to discover that the person you were talking to is not the owner of the land. So it then means that, everybody has to be very, very careful. As I've said, if it's a family property, because that is where, because there are some families that, all they know in this Lagos is litigation. In fact, there's a family, I don't want to mention the family on this, session. There was a case where the Supreme Court itself said anybody who buys land from this family knows that he has bought a case. We're on the live session, so I don't want to mention any film. So, all over Nigeria, especially in the Southwest, maybe the Southeast to an extent, land is really, really a very serious issue. I've had a situation, even in relation to tenancy, some years back when I was living in Ikeja, I know someone then, the guy used to, he was my barber then. He wanted to rent an apartment and, he paid for it. And when, it was all these developers. So the day the apartment was ready, he told me that over 100 people showed up. So what the developer did was to collect money from over 100 people, use the money to develop the property. And then when it was time to now give them keys, people now started fighting. I don't even know I didn't know the end of the matter, because I know that the developer was then arrested and, charged to magistrate court in Ogba. I don't know whether eventually they funded them. So please, let's be careful before we, tie our money down, either by renting a property or by purchasing a property. Let us be more careful. Let's be circumspect. Do your proper due diligence. Ask questions from people who live in that vicinity, and then that's all.
Thank
you very much.
thank you so much. My notes is full. I've learned so much tonight. Thank you very much, Saz, for bringing such a rich, side to the conversation this evening. And I just want to give like a quick summary of what we learned today. Starting from Mr. Denny, he spoke about, proper due diligence, whether it is a family property or you are obtaining the property from companies, make sure you do due diligence. Make sure you do due diligence as much as CAC. Verifying the company, that the company is even registered, the company is a legit company, right? You say you need to go to the Surveyor General's office to check the land, and also Dr. Timothy spoke about, being Dr. Timothy spoke about, paying professionals, and that is very, very valid. A lot of people just want cheap things, and cheap things can cost you a lot. So Dr. Timothy emphasized on paying professionals to help you do this verification. Mr. Ajibola also spoke about, during the final word, he spoke about the technology trust infrastructure. He spoke about regulatory, system. How that we might not be able to do so much about that, but as much as possible, we engage, the trust systems that are in place to help us carry out verification processes. And that's one of the reasons why Find Nigerian Properties is here. We help people, organizations carry out our verification processes so that you will not get into the hands of scammers, people that will just want to pressurize you into releasing your money for something that is not real. So you can check us on findnigerianproperties.com, contact us, our customer representatives would answer your questions. For sectors, you can reach out to us, for Mr. Denny's contact if you want him to help you further in that particular situation that you mentioned. Thank you very much. Our time is fast spent, but I'm sure that we all agree that it was a rich conversation. I've learned a whole lot this evening. Thank you, Mr. Denny. Thank you, Dr. Timothy. Thank you, Mr. Abib. Thank you so, so much. Thank you to all the participants. Thank you for joining. We want you to reach out to us, findnigerianproperties.com, for any question you have regarding real estate. Remember, don't take that real estate decision without carrying out proper due diligence. Thank you, everyone, for joining the meeting this evening. We hope to see you next month for the next webinar. Thank you, and thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you. It was nice having you, Alawale. It was nice having you, Titi, Abib. Thank you so much. Thank you.